being the first black firefighters. Don't want to talk about beds, don't want to talk about food, don't want to talk about fights. What did it do to you internally?
Internally, as I told you earlier, my underlying desire was to be chief. And it was hopeless to think that here I am, a firefighter, working under segregated conditions, thinking of trying to be the chief of the department. I mean, that I had to put it out of my mind, but it was always back underlined in my, under everything I did. But the main thing I remember, it was a psychological thing on us. All the officers, like I said, were given the opportunity to be promoted just to work with us. So the officers that we had in training became our officers when we arrived here in the fire station. We had Lieutenant Black was training us. When we finished school and became firefighters, he was Captain Black. He was our captain. You had drivers, Atkinson and Manning, and all these guys were all promoted to drive, appointed to drivers just to work with us. You had white extra drivers, you had white drivers, lieutenants, captains, and that's as far as we went in the station. And then all the firefighters, we had 8 firefighters, all black on each shift. We had 2 shifts at the time.
Now, when we talk about the promotions, you guys had to form a group to get lieutenants approved because they told you it was going to take 15 years before they'd make anybody black a lieutenant?
Well, what actually happened, and the test was given in 1969, but prior to 1969, the fire department was working 72 hours a week. So in 1966, the white firefighters came to all of us and asked us, you guys, they realized a point that they wanted to go out on strike. That was the first time the fire department had ever unionized. And so we all had the same need. And that's the reason why we joined them. Because at that time, the black council member, what they were called alderman at that time, it was Q.B. Williamson, came to us and asked us to stay on the fire department if the white firefighters go out on strike. And because at that time, we were in a number of about 48 or close to 50 firefighters, black firefighters. And we told him we couldn't do that. He said, this is our job and we have to work with these guys and we need to raise in the short hours ourselves, So he was disappointed, but he went back and told the mayor. So we all went out on strike, black and white, in 1966, and we were all fired. And so the first time we went out on strike, we stayed out, I'm not sure, about maybe a week or so, and then we returned thinking that we had everything we were asking for. And the mayor agreed to give us everything, but he wanted us to not go out on strike. So we went out on strike again for whatever reason. I was not in the echelon at that time to know all the reasons, but we were in support of everybody. And so we went out on strike the second time. That's when we got fired permanently. And the mayor made all of us come back once he gave everything that we were asking for. We were asking for short hours, a 3-step pay raise, and then we got all of that with one condition. We had to come back and raise our hand that we would never strike again and promise that they'd never strike again and sign a sheet that we had done that.
Wow.
And I remember, I never forget, I had to stand before the fire chief and raise my hand and promise that I would not strike again. Each one of us did that.
So how did we get to black lieutenants? Give me a 2-minute warning.
Well, the black lieutenants came about when I mentioned earlier that 1969 was the first test that was given that we were able to participate in. And all of us failed. They said all blacks failed the test. No black passed the test, therefore we can't promote any black.
But that was a lie, wasn't it?
Well, yes, it was a big lie. The problem was we were never given another test for a long, that's 1969 test lasts for the next 10 years. And that was the idea, was not to promote us over a 10-year period. But because the idea was to say we all failed, therefore we could not get promoted, and they would not administer another test for another 10 years. They would continue to promote off of that list. And so that's when we formed our group. And we had to go underground, we had to secretly meet and everything until we got enough support from this community. And once we got support from the community, and I was chosen to be president because I guess I had the biggest mouth. And so they had me as the president, so I asked the guys, I said, look, if you're really serious about it, I said, I'm gonna put my whole heart into it. And that's what happened. You know, I put my whole heart in. We were fighting every instant. We took everything that was going on in the fire department that was discriminatory and exposed it to the community. And I did that by going through the black newspapers. We had 3 black newspapers at that time. And I went to each one and I talked to and so much so we got to be friendly because all of the editors of the black newspaper became my advisors. They would advise me how to get along, how to deal with racism, how to do all that stuff. I had excellent advisors.
Now, what I've got, because we're gonna have to pop a tape and then take a break, I'm gonna ask you a question that's a little bit out of context. Who were the 2 first black lieutenants?
Frank Boland and James Maddox.
Okay. If you were able to ask to, how old are you right now?
How old am I?
Uh-huh.
I'm 76.
You were able to go back in time and talk to the person that took that job when he was a young man. What would you tell yourself?
Pretty much things went they didn't go exactly like I wanted them to, but it was delayed a lot. But I was really out there. I mean, I was a militant. I mean, I knew, see, when I filed a lawsuit, first Roseman and the guys went down and they attempted to file with EEOC. They did not put down the right promotional opportunities with EEOC. So the EEOC could not help them. So I went down and they called me and I went down and I filed for discrimination for promotion to lieutenant. So then they found evidence, and I gave them the evidence and things that I had been saving all along from the newspapers and everything. And so they said, okay, we'll investigate the fire department. They pulled an investigation of the whole fire department. I told them where to go, this training center and everything, where they could find everything. And everything we said was proven. So they gave us a right to file a lawsuit. And at the time, we could not file a lawsuit against the city because the city was immune to lawsuits. So in 1975, Congress passed a law that allowed citizens to be able to sue the city. And I was sitting here and we went right in. We were the first lawsuit against the city of Atlanta. And we went right in. And the Judge Moyer, Charles Moyer, I never will forget, he asked me to stand up, and he said, Mr. Hamer, he said, and I was excited because he called me Mr. Hamer, addressed me, and he said, Mr. Hamer, I'm going to lock the city down, personnel department, the mayor's office, and all in the council and everybody. They cannot promote or fire or hire anybody until your suit is settled. Oh my goodness. I was numb. I mean, just a matter of fact that he called me Mr. Hamer, then gave me everything that I wanted. He said, until your lawsuit is settled, the city cannot do anything. The mayor's office is locked down. And at that time, Sam Marcel was going out of office and Maynard Jackson was in office. And Maynard and I were friends because we helped him get elected. He came to us and asked us to support him. At that time, Maynard was looked upon as a bougie black person, and we made him black by endorsing him and everything. So he was appreciative of that. So you asked me how we got the first black lieutenants. So when Maynard was in the position as vice mayor, we got the vice mayor to come and sit in the absence of the mayor on the board of fire masters. The board of fire masters controlled the fire department. You had the board of fire masters with 2 white council members, and we had 2 black council members, and with the mayor coming in, we make it 3 black members, with Maynard coming in. So what happened was we had a majority on the board of fire masters. So that's when we hit them with the fact that we want 2 black lieutenants. And Councilman Richard Freeman, he's a judge, he became a federal judge later. Councilman Richard Freeman asked the chief, said, Mr. Chief Williams, he said, why can't you promote 2 black firefighters? He said, why can't you promote Mr. Hamer? And he said, no, we can't promote Hamer. We can't promote Hamer. He failed the test. He said, well, you said everybody failed the test. He said, well, Chief, and the chief said, well, they all did fail, you know. He said, well, are these men still employed on the fire department? The ones that you say got bad records and they can't be promoted? Yes. He said, well, Chief, if they can be employed on the fire department, they can be lieutenants. When he said that, we had the white vote that we needed to give us all the majority vote.